Coming up on CPTV, Indiana Beach experiences a surprising closing. What is Mercury Retrograde, and does it really affect us? And the boys basketball team faces Lowell before prepping for sectionals. CPTV is up next.
Hi, I'm Brianna Morton.
And I'm Olivia Bianco.
Welcome to CPTV. Rocco Jan will have your 5-day weather forecast, and John Lieber will bring us CP sports highlights.
Here's what's happening at Crown Point High School. On February 18th, Indiana Beach closed its doors for good. Located in Monticello, Indiana, off of Lake Schaefer, the amusement park operated for over 90 years before its sudden closing. Here with more is CPTV's Sebastian Zenowitz.
For nearly a century, Indiana Beach has been a source of family fun and vacations all around Indiana. However, as of last month, the park has been closed to the public, mainly due to financial issues. Many local businesses and citizens here in Monticello have been receiving this news, hoping that a solution or even a possible reopen will soon be made to get rid of this security gate that was installed behind me. Not only does this news affect and disappoint thousands of families that vacationed here year after year, but it will affect the entire town of Monticello.
It really honestly is a blow to the community. It's a shock. I don't think anyone saw this coming. So, personally, I'm sad because it's generations of my family history that, my nephew and other family members aren't going to get to enjoy the 94-year tradition like we did as kids. Professionally, as a resort owner, it's challenging, The hard part is that a lot of our revenue came from those who had visited Indiana Beach. The good part about it, though, is not all of our revenue came from those who visited Indiana Beach.
It's very sad news. It's a landmark in this area that's been around for many, many years, many generations of people. My family, myself, my kids, grandparents all spent a lot of time at Indiana Beach. So the news that it's not going to be there, it's very, very just unsettling, I guess, unsettling news that it may not be around for future generations, and I think we'll be okay. The city's going to band together, and we'll find other things, and we'll make the best of it.
As a business, first thing that we are doing is reaching out to the people in the community that have season passes for Indiana Beach, and SKIPPER'S is honoring those passes in that when you bring them to SKIPPER'S, you get $1 off of your purchase, and we're continuing that through the rest of the year. So hopefully, if they don't get refunds for their passes, they can kind of make up that money by discounts at SKIPPER'S and have an enjoyable time while they're here.
And we're just hopeful that someone comes in and does something with the property, be it take over Indiana Beach or come in with something else.
It's obvious that local businesses and citizens here in Monticello still remain upset after the news. But not only does this affect local citizens in Monticello, it also affects teachers here at CPHS who have been long supporters of the park and have even ordered season tickets prior to the closing.
Well, I'm sad for my friend because her property values are obviously going to go down. And I'm also sad for myself because I lost a little bit of money on the season pass tickets. But I'm really sad for my kids because we would go there all the time and it was so fun. They have music there. It's more than just the rides. So there was a lot of things to do there, and now we're just going to have to find something else to do when we go down there and visit in the summer.
Hearing the news was pretty devastating, but it doesn't change the memories I've had there. Every weekend, we have a lake house on Schaefer Lake, so we go there every weekend anyways, and Indiana Beach was just part of that experience. So every Saturday night we'd go there, we'd walk the boardwalk, play the games, do the rides. I love carnival rides, so it's very, very sad I have so many memories with my family there, so it's sad that we won't have that anymore.
Now, although the town is working very hard to search for a new buyer or plan alternative uses for the land, most people all over Indiana still remain shocked and devastated by the disappointing news. For CPTV, I'm Sebastian Zenowitz.
Scholarships for AP tests are now open to all CPHS students. This scholarship is intended to help students who are taking AP tests in social studies, art, or world language. Students must have their application completed by 11:30 a.m. on Thursday, March 12th. The application link can be found on the CPHS website.
Student Council will be hosting a fundraiser at Chipotle on Broadway in support of the Dance Marathon for Lurie Children's Hospital. You can either bring in a flyer, show it on your smartphone, or tell the cashier at checkout between 4 and 8 p.m. 3 to 4 times every year, the planet Mercury is said to go into retrograde. This happens when the planet Mercury appears to move west to east around the sun instead of east to west. Some believe this movement has an effect on our lives here on Earth. Here with more is CPTV's Maddie Massey.
Not everyone has heard of the Mercury Retrograde, but we're actually in it right now. Some believe it has a negative effect on our quality of life during it, and some believe it's simply a scientific phenomenon. It's said that Mercury rules communication, and art of him resembles him as a messenger. Is it possible that when he seems to be going backwards, he is giving Earth a rough time? I visited the planetarium at Pierce Middle School for more insight on this topic.
Each planet goes around the sun at a different distance and at a different speed. And occasionally a planet will pass another planet, and when that happens, the planet appears to move backwards. It's similar to cars on an interstate. Even though all the cars in the interstate are traveling in the same direction at 70 miles an hour approximately, if you have one car pass another, that one car will look like it's moving backwards relative to the car that's passing it. So it's really not moving backwards. It just looks like it is because it's being passed up by a faster moving car. So in the same way that one car can pass another car and make that car look like it's going backwards, when one planet passes another planet in our solar system, it makes it look as if that planet is passing or is moving backwards. Mercury has retrograde motion once every 3.8 months. Mercury is the smallest major planet in our solar system. It's at a pretty good distance away, and it's really hard to imagine any way that Mercury would have an effect on us here on Earth. I really hadn't given any thought to Mercury's retrograde motion having an effect on people or events on Earth, because it's a small planet, it's far away. The moon by far is much closer. The moon would have a stronger gravitational effect. It seemed like if anything would affect us, it'd be the moon and not the planet Mercury. So I would remain very skeptical of that.
I believe in Mercury retrograde because it's just like the whole energy is different, like when it's happening, and so like just like crazy stuff that normally doesn't happen just like happened, and there's not really an explanation except that it happens when Mercury retrograde is happening.
Well, Mercury, if you really are messing around with the said energy on Earth, we still think your size compared to the sun is adorable. You do you. For CPTV, I'm Madeline Massey.
After last week's snow, temperatures have been on the rise.
Yeah, I'm kind of over the cold and snow. Here's Rocco Jan with your 5-day weather forecast.
Well, I wish I could give you two some good news, but it looks like we'll just have to hold out with the cold for the next few days. Starting with today, we'll actually have some bright sunny skies through 3 p.m., but temperatures are still going to hold low in the lower to mid 40s throughout the day. For your 5-day weather forecast, it looks like temperatures will remain chilly with lows hovering around 28 to 45 degrees for the next few days, though matters could become slightly brighter as we enter the weekend with a high of 47 on Saturday and a high of 58 on Sunday that will hopefully carry over into the new week with a high of 55 on Monday. Partly cloudy skies are expected to persist tomorrow as well as Friday, though we could see some pleasant sunshine spring up on Saturday. Snow and rainfall will likely not be as frequent here in Crown Point through the weekend, but there's always a chance we could see some occasional showers going into Monday. Though it doesn't look like we'll have any snow days anytime soon, I guess we'll just have to deal with that same old Indiana cold for just a little while longer, Crown Point. That's your 5-day weather forecast, and make sure to stay warm out there in Crown Point. Olivia, Brianna?
Thanks, Rocco. Let's hope this is the start of spring. We'll be back with sports after this break.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to The Morning Bark.
You're listening to Dog Pound Chalk Talking Dirt here on thedogradio.com. We break down all the latest news in sports and CP to the pros.
The The swim, gymnastics, and dance teams all participated in their respective postseasons, while the basketball team is gearing up for the start of sectionals. Here's John Lieber with your CP Sports highlights.
In the final regular season game of the year, the boys basketball team traveled to Lowell. The Dogs started out really slow with only 1 point in the first quarter, but at one point in the second, the team started to find themselves. CP still came up short as the Dogs couldn't get any of their shots to drop and suffered from just too many missed attempts. Lowell won in the end 53-44. The Dogs' next game is this Friday at the Valpo sectional against the winner of Chesterton and Lowell. The boys swim team traveled to IUPUI for the state finals over the weekend. Alex McCormick finished 12th in the 100-meter backstroke, and the medley relay team consisting of Alex McCormick, Pablo Nieto, Tyler Tenion, and Leo Gonzalez finished 15th. The CP gymnastics team competed at sectionals over the weekend. The Dogs put up a good team score of 109.225, but unfortunately placed 5th, with only the top 3 moving on to regionals, therefore ending their season. Sophomore Gianna Whitty scored a 9.575 on vault, making her the only CP gymnast to move on to regionals. The dance team traveled to Lake Central for regionals. The team placed 3rd in Palm just behind Lake Central and Munster. However, they took 1st in the kick category and now travel to Lafayette Jefferson for state finals on March 14th. And that's it for sports.
Over the last several years, influencers and vloggers like David Dobrik and Jake Paul have taken over the internet, with their target audience being young internet users. Many parents question the effects of clickbait and dangerous stunts performed online have on young, impressionable viewers. Teens oppose the view that, well, influencers have influence. Here's CPTV Sam Massey with more.
We're in the midst of the first generation to be born with websites like YouTube and apps like TikTok. How are we sure that influencers on these websites have a good effect on kids? This is why we interviewed a bunch of psychiatrists, teachers, and kids for more.
I think kids watch it quite a bit, especially when there's downtime in class, or even when they're working on some of their homework and things like that. There's sometimes, switching gears and looking at different tabs and being on YouTube. So I think they watch it quite a bit. I think there's a lot of kids that utilize it. I think it has the potential to be a negative, especially if there's no warnings as to, what the repercussions are, or if they've gotten permission to do some of the things that they do. It can be have a negative impact. Kids can latch onto that stuff because it looks cool or it looks fun. Some of those guys are making a lot of money, and so they see those things and replicate those things, and they're able to kind of not have the same rewards and get in trouble when those types of things come about.
I mainly just go to YouTube and whatnot for entertainment. I just don't feel like I look up to the people that I watch that much. It's just fun to watch compilations and stuff. It depends on what specific content you're talking about. I mean, they post a wide variety, but I feel like it can be harmful when taken the wrong way.
We went to go see licensed clinical social worker April Sanders for her take on this subject.
From a psychological standpoint, the answer is yes. One, you've got the idea that teenagers or young kids look up to their role models, whether that's a basketball player or, as you said, a wrestler, and they want to emulate that. So they are going to most likely try to replicate the behaviors that they see. If a vlogger is doing something like putting something in a pool and lighting it on fire, and if I'm looking up to as a young person, I'm most likely going to try to replicate that. The other issue from more of a true psychological standpoint and the effects on the brain is that anytime we watch something that induces fear, anxiety, stress, excitement, what we know about that is that chemically our brains release dopamine. And what dopamine does is sends a signal to the brain of like reward. So for instance, if you eat a piece of candy that you enjoy, you get a dopamine release, and then that makes you want to eat that candy again. We know that can happen also with behaviors. So when young kids are watching the vloggers and they're experiencing something that produces that kind of reaction and dopamine is released, what it will do is send a reward message to the brain, which will encourage watching that same video or that same person over and over again, which then is going to be a negative effect on the child's sleep patterns, their ability to concentrate, their ability to obsess about the vlogger that they're interested in. And then, of course, they're going to want to keep replicating the behaviors that they see in the vlogging because the dopamine wants more and more of that behavior.
I'm pretty sure everyone wants to have an extravagant life like that, like just get to live carefree. Honestly, I do not want a 9-to-5 job. That's not what I'm trying to do right now. But I mean, I'll take one to get where I'm going. But if I can try and get that life, I will. Sometimes it can be, depending on how you do it. Like the way Mr. Beast does it with like the tree, with like how he wants to say about the trees. That's a good way. Like helping the world or helping someone else in need is a good way.
Platforms such as YouTube have introduced family-friendly versions of itself, but we're not really sure if that lessens any of the negative effects that it has on its users. That's the real question we have to ask. This is Sam Massey for CPTV.
St. Baldrick's Brave the Shave annual event will be held Thursday, March 12th from 4 to 6 p.m. in the cafeteria. You can go to stbaldricks.org to donate. The CPHS Key Club's goal is to raise $21,000 to help fund childhood cancer research. On March 17th, the city of Crown Point will host their annual St. Patrick's Day Parade on the square. The parade will begin at dusk, and don't forget the CPHS Fire Department will be selling corned beef and cabbage dinners before the parade at the fire station.
The Crown Point Community Foundation will host their 11th annual Volunteer Fair this Saturday, March 7th. The event will be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the high school cafeteria and will offer students and residents the ability to learn about volunteer opportunities at more than 75 local nonprofit agencies. Finally, the CPHS Theater Department will be opening their spring musical, Freaky Friday, this Friday. CBTV's Jenna Milosh catches up with the cast to see what they are looking forward to as opening night fast approaches.
As the velvet curtains become closer to opening to the public, the cast and crew of the spring musical Freaky Friday are hard at work, preparing for the show nights to come. Many students, staff, and other CP residents buy tickets to see these large-scale productions on the stage, like past shows such as Kiss Me Kate, Little Mermaid, and The Drowsy Chaperone. Although, not a lot of people are familiar with the names and faces of the students that work countless hours to make these shows successful.
Freaky Friday is about a mom and a daughter, and they're complete opposites, and basically they have a magic hourglass and they accidentally switch bodies.
I play Catherine Blake, which is Ellie Blake's mother. Most of the time I am a immature teenage girl.
I'm Mike. I'm the stepdad who's about to marry Catherine, who is the mom.
So I play the daughter. My name is Ellie Blake. We rehearse every single day after school, and now since it's getting closer to the show, we rehearse on the weekends too.
I'd say I spend a good 10 to 15 hours a week just on rehearsals alone. It doesn't include the construction crew that happens over the weekend, which is about 8 hours a day.
On a normal day, we usually run the show, blocking wise, and then when it gets closer, we run it with all the choreography, the songs, all the staging, technical aspects of it, and then we'll get the pit in here and stuff like that.
It's full of action, lots of fun, great dance numbers, and it has an amazing ending.
As time goes on and the students work countless hours, one thing's for certain: this passion project shared throughout the hearts of students and staff alike will go on as long as they do. For CPTV, I'm Jenna Milosh.
Additional performances will be on March 7th, 8th, 13th, and 14th at 7 p.m. and March 8th and 15th at 2:30 p.m. Tickets can be purchased at cphstheater.com. That's it for today's show. Thanks for taking the time to tune in and for being with us.
Remember, you can view all of our past episodes on crowntownmedia.org.
You can also follow us on Twitter at CrownTMedia.
For John Lieber, Rocco Jan, and all of us here at CPTV, I'm Brianna Morton.
And I'm Olivia Bianco.
Take care.